everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 229. I promise I'm wearing pants. Now, if you're listening to this podcast later on iTunes and it's just the audio version, you probably don't care whether I'm wearing pants or not. But everyone watching the video, especially those watching live, it's something that ekes around the back of their heads. Is he really wearing pants? This is important that he is, because you never know when he might stand up. But yes, I am indeed wearing pants. I am, however, not wearing any socks or shoes. I'm barefoot. I had flip-flops on earlier for just a couple minutes so I could go across the street and get the mail. But then I took them off once I got back home. Or back to my apartment. This is the kind of entertaining regalement that you come to my podcast for. Jared says, but you do stand up all the time. Yeah, I know. Alright, so first, pardon me. First on the agenda tonight, and I only have two things on the agenda tonight because I didn't really prep this podcast. Because, Cass says it's too cold for flip-flops here. Well, I'm in Southern California, so, it's at times been pretty cold at night, but, not too bad during the day. So, I've got two things to talk about tonight. I didn't really do a lot of research for stuff to talk about this week. There's a bunch of topics, but some of them I'm just like, nah, that just makes me unhappy. I don't want to talk about it. I spent most of the day playing video games, and I was thinking, what should I do for the podcast tonight? Well, there's one topic. Remember a week or two ago when I talked about Sony killing a PlayStation 4 feature that I was not really aware of, and apparently no one else was either? Apparently you could rent and stream movies from the PlayStation Store. Why would you do that? Since most of us probably already have one or more other streaming services like, the Criterion Collection, the classy ones, and Shudder, where I this week watched a film about a killer pair of jeans. The Pants Attack. Not entirely successful as a film, but I really, really loved the way the monstrous jeans were visualized and puppeteered. It was pretty great. Yes, Chaos. Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. So this week, PlayStation or Sony is killing off another feature, the PlayStation Communities. And I went, I have no idea what that is. I mean, I actually was tangentially aware of the fact that there were movies available on the PlayStation Store. I mean, I've been on the PlayStation Store. I've seen that there's movies or something. So I figured, oh, you can probably buy Sony films. I mean, they're publishing Monster Hunter, I think, so I imagine you can buy that there. But apparently there was, like, streaming and rental stuff there. Who cares, when I've got the Criterion Collection at my fingertips. So in addition to that, they are killing the PlayStation Communities. And I don't feel too terribly bad about not knowing what that is, because I have seen numerous articles on, high-profile entertainment websites all saying exactly the same thing. Sony's killing the PlayStation Communities, something we really didn't use or even know about. And I had to actually look on my PlayStation dashboard to see where the hell it was. If you push up, you get into where, downloads and settings and turn off the PlayStation 5 is. It's up there. It's one of those, there's like 8 icons, and I ignore everything except notifications, which tells me when my downloads are finished, settings, and which I currently have to occasionally have to toggle DHCP on and off. so I can stream or watch movies if I want to use it as a, DVD or Blu-ray player. Um, or the turn it off section. So that's where it was. Apparently, it was here. Let me. Silicon Era describes it as a service that allows PlayStation 4 users to create groups about various games and topics. Group members can use the communities to find people with shared interests, post messages, form parties, and recruit for gaming sessions. Well, cool. But no one uses it, so it's going away next month. Sorry to anyone who actually used it. I mean, at least with the Wii U, I even forget what it was called, but Wii U had a feature where you had kind of a communities things, but mostly it was just meant for people to draw funny pictures. And those funny pictures would occasionally litter games. So that was kind of funny. I forget what that was called, though. Someone in the chat remind me. Matthew says, sounds like a made-up film from the 80s or from an 80s or 90s cartoon. Oh, yeah, the Killer Jeans one. It's called Slacks, only spelled with two X's on the end. Chaos used communities, has a community of its own. All right. Miiverse, that's what it's called, Chaos. Thank you very much. That's right. Yeah. Chunk of protein powder did not got a clump in there. That happens sometimes. Could use like a shaker ball, but then you have to clean it. Don't mind a clump of protein now and then. So that's that topic, and now I'm out of topics. So I thought, okay, well, what else am I going to do? Then I remembered Monster Hunter's coming out next. Monster Hunter Rise is coming out next week. Years ago, many moons now, back when Monster Hunter 4 was first announced with a trailer that showed off cool new features like being able to climb on the environment and mount the monsters. I wrote an article for IGN, I think, which was the top 5 things I want to see in a new Monster Hunter. I've talked about this on the channel before, but my original list was like 20 things long, but IGN didn't want to commission me for 20 things. They only wanted 5. So I narrowed it down to 5 and did that. Later I actually made a video about that, so it's on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. But I still have my original list of like 20 some odd things that these are things I'd like to see in a Monster Hunter game. Well, since then, Monster Hunter 4 has come out, Monster Hunter Generations has come out, Monster Hunter World has come out, and Monster Hunter Rise is coming out next week. I never got around to making that video. Something always came up. I thought, you know what, I'm probably just never going to get around to doing it, but I don't have any other topics. But I do have a podcast, so hey, why the hell not just go over the list on this here lovely podcast, and we can talk about that, because I'm excited for Monster Hunter Rise, which comes out next week, which means I'm probably going to have to pay $60 for a game, and I don't like paying $60 for a game, but I thought to myself, you know, I could write part of it off as a work expense, a YouTube work expense. So I'm one of those, I ain't paying more than 50, and then whatever the tax is for a video game, I ain't paying $60. Even though it's totally worth it because I'll put hundreds of hours into it. Well, I was planning on doing the, bringing Leslie and Bob back for Monster Hunter Rise. So I can justify it as so. Just use $10 of my Patreon money to subsidize the cost of a new game. Done. Now I can have it next week. So that's unless I see it, unless Walmart's selling it for $50 or something like that. That's probably what I'll do. So, let's look at my old list here. That's an intro, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the first couple are probably the ones that were in the video itself, but we'll go over them. So one of my ideas was a trophy room. You spend resources expanding and reinforcing your home so you can mount the heads of your kills on your walls. Now, also keep in mind, I have not played Generation 4 or Generation, so if any of this stuff was in either of those games, I just don't know. But I did play World and Iceborne. So, spend resources expanding and reinforcing your home so you can mount the heads of your kills on your walls. No-ish. In Monster Hunter World, you don't spend resources to do this, but as you progress through the game, you get bigger and better rooms that you can put more stuff in. But the stuff you can put in your room, the stuff you can use to decorate your room, are not the heads of your kills. You can hang some fish. You can put endemic life, just the birds and squirrels and bunnies and stuff that you've caught with a net out in the wild. You can put that stuff in your room, and that's awesome. You can also, most of this is paid DLC, but you can also put in statues and busts of the various monsters. Not exactly mounting their heads, but it's, along the same lines. It's, somewhat the same direction. Just make sure I'm okay. Whoa! I really hate it when the chair does that. Makes me think I'm gonna die. Capture monsters to learn about their ecology, elemental weaknesses, status tolerances, and item drops. The more you capture, the more you learn. See, back in the 3 and 3 Ultimate days, if you wanted to know things about hit zone values or status ailments or elemental weaknesses, you were going to have to consult an outside source because that stuff is not in the game. However, with Monster Hunter World, the more monsters you hunt, not necessarily capture, but hunt, the more you learn about them and the more your hunter's notes are filled out with information like that. It starts out with a little bit of ecology flavor text, and then you get the weak zones in which damage type they're weak to, and then you get elemental and status weaknesses, and you also get item drops, both from breaks, carves, and captures, and stuff like that. So, not exactly the way I was thinking about it, but Monster Hunter World and Iceborne did a much better job of not requiring the player to consult outside sources to figure out how the hell to play the game. There's another chunk of protein there. Yeah. Congealed protein powder is good. So, along those lines, kind of funny story. When I first fought Alatreon, because that pronunciation sounds better than Alatreon, when I first fought Alatreon in Iceborne, they yell at you, they're like, use the correct elemental weapon to counter the dragon so that you knock it out of the big boom attack. Well, it's a fire dragon. I would assume water is the counter element. I assumed wrong. After fighting Alatreon several times, and not being able to beat it, my hunter notes filled out after 3 or 4 hunts, and said, "Yeah, it's weak to ice." I went, "Oh, of course. Why would a fire monster be weak to ice and not water?" I mean, it does have some weakness to water, but it's mostly weak to ice. I did figure that out. I mean, I could have looked at a wiki immediately. I was still a little salty about that one. Oh well. Let's see. Okay, a monster museum. Kill a monster without damaging it to create displays in a museum where you can learn about them. So, what I was thinking is, as you fight monsters, if you focus your attacks on a certain area, you can break parts. You can sever the tail. You can break off a horn. You can damage their chest and forearms depending on the monster. But they'd look kind of silly with broken horns and no tail. So maybe a challenge would be to kill a monster without scarring the hell out of it to make a good display for a museum piece. And then you'd have a museum with all these monsters, posed and stuff. And you could go up to the various displays, and that's where you might learn the ecology information or the weaknesses or stuff like that. Just an idea I had. Oh, I had an idea of increasing the chances of for rare drops by meeting special hunting requirements. Um, at Monster Hunters, we've all run into the issue of I need the Deep Dragon Gem, or I need the Rathalos Plate, or I need there's that damn item that has the 1% drop rates, and you've farmed 25 uh, Rathalos and no plates. Cafe Fox says poison. Yeah, yeah. That use poison. Use use things that aren't, or spread your damage around so you can beat them without breaking them. Might be a challenge. So I thought, okay, what if there was a way to increase the percentage of a drop rate? My idea was like, um, you know, you can't use bombs or poison, and you have to break the head, right? Just some like tell the game which part that you're targeting, and it would give you a few requirements that you need to meet in order to increase the drop rate of whatever the hell you're looking for. And it would only increase from like the 1 to 3% that plates and rubies and gems and stuff like that are, up to 10. Not going to guarantee it. This is Monster Hunter after all. But yeah, a way to specifically target the thing that you're trying to get. Is that in there? No. Um, there are investigations which do award bonus drops, and they do have special requirements, but they never go beyond time or feint restrictions. So some of the investigations are like, you have to do it in 20 minutes, you have to do it in 15 minutes, or you can only, if you faint once, you're done. Those are the only restrictions they have, but the investigations did have opportunities for extra drops, so not really, but leaning in that direction. Let's see. I had an idea of for a new weapon, fisticuffs. No blocking, limited range, in exchange for high mobility, no sharpening, reloaded, or sheathing, and a different style of play. Um, I really just want to punch monsters in the face. That's it. But no, unfortunately, in World and Iceborne, and so far as we know, in Rise, there are no new weapons. Um, they've added some functionality, like Iceborne got the Clutch Claw, we've got the Wire Bugs, and some new moves with the different weapons, but uh, no monster punching or kicking or headbutting actions. Although there are sometimes there was a kick that was in 3, and I think the Greatsword can kick. There's Shadow Box Gesture, which actually does damage if you can line it up right. So there are a few things like that, but my idea was like, if you don't equip a weapon, you're automatically on fisticuffs, and maybe every armor set is also rated for attack. So this is what your attack will be if you're not using a weapon. I mean, you could also do something like fisticuffs are actually spike knuckles or gauntlets of some sort. But I just, I just want to go flying feet and fists of fury. Yeah, just to run up and punch monsters. There's, yeah, you know, Baroth charges you and you headbutt it. That'd be fun. The cafe says kung fu the shit out of a Rathalos. That's right. Get down here. No, that's not happened, unfortunately. Uh, Although you do have your Palicos and now the Palamutes, which I still think should be called Palamuts. I mean, I actually embarrassingly did have to have the chat point out that it was a play on Malamute. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where they got that from. Okay. Problem though, they don't look anything like Malamutes. I mean, if they actually looked like a Malamute, then Palamute would make sense, but it doesn't at all, not even remotely. So, I still say Palamut would be better. Whatever. Let's see. Players shouldn't have to consult outside sources to figure out how to do stuff like use a barrel bomb. Monster Hunter World can still be obtuse, but it does a much better job of explaining its own systems. And I imagine Rise will be at least as good in that regard. I still think most players who are absolutely coming in having never played Monster Hunter before, coming into World or coming into Rise, are probably going to be best served with either someone they live with who's experienced or just, joining in the online Monster Hunter community to help them along. Because it is a complicated game. And sometimes the game is... I'm still not sure what the hell the smoke bombs are for. you know? A lot of times the item description will tell you what it is, but it won't tell you how to use it. Yeah, and that was my problem with the barrel bombs at first. I mean, you can figure this out. I figured it out. You can figure it out. But originally, when I first played Monster Hunter Tri, I was playing around with stuff and I combined stuff. And I'm like, oh, I made a large barrel bomb. Read the item description. It explodes, causing damage to monsters. Cool. So I go out into the field. I get assaulted by an ornery great jaggy, and I select large barrel bomb out of my inventory, and my character goes whomp and sets down a barrel. I'm like, now what? What? Do I have to bait the monster into it? Okay. So I'm like kiting the monster around, trying to get it to walk on the barrel, but it just kind of walks through it, just clips through it. To be fair, if I was a charging monster like Diablos or Baroth or something would set off a barrel bomb, or Baroth's head or Uragan's head or chin slams, those will ignite a barrel bomb. But if they just walk on it, they're gonna mostly clip through it. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, you can hit it, you kick it, or hit it with your weapon. That'll make it blow up. You could throw a rock at it. What you're really supposed to do is use these small barrel bombs, which have a fuse on it, and put it next to it. Oh, great. Sure. Game doesn't tell you that, though. Again, you'll figure it out if you have the patience to stick with it. But there are just an enormous number of things that... and this goes for items that you can use, armor skills. Sometimes the descriptions of the armor skills are not clear what they do. And let me actually give you a really good modern example, unless they've changed it at some point. I'm going to pull up the Monster Hunter website here, because I remember one of their wire bug descriptions is really unclear to me, a veteran of Monster Hunter. Weapons and armor. It is. I think it's the insect glaive, the switch skill. Nope. No, it's not. Shoot. Oh God, which one is it? Dual life swords. Oh, is it hunting horn? Up. Okay. Monster Hunter Rise has a silkbind attack called the Bead of Resonance. Here is the description. Places a wire bug cocoon on the ground. If the same hunter generates melody effects, the effect also appears around the cocoon, as does a sonic wave that damages monsters near it. What? I'm not terribly sure what the hell that means. Places a wire bug cocoon on the ground. Okay, all right, with you so far. If the same hunter that put the cocoon on the ground generates melody effects, which you constantly do, being a hunting horn user, and the melody effects can consist of things like movement up, attack up, defense up, wind resist, things like that. The effect also appears around the cocoon. What does that mean? So, okay, let's say I play a melody for attack up small. What does it mean for the attack up small effect to appear around the cocoon? Is, is it like a mist that if other hunters walk through, they'll get the benefit of the melody? Maybe. So is it a Silkbind attack that kind of mimics the wide range skill? Possibly. I have no idea what that means, and that's the problem that these Monster Hunter games can often have, is their descriptions are sometimes really not clear at all what the hell it's talking about. Cafe Fox asks, how big is the world supposed to be in Rise? Is it organized into sections like the old game, or is it one big seamless area like World? It's there are like World, there are multiple maps. The Great Forest is one large area, the desert's one large area, and they are sectioned off into zones, zone 1, 2, 3, and 4. But like World, it is there are no loading zones. It's seamless, zone to zone. You just walk from zone to zone, no loading screen. Cafe says, one of my favorite things is to lay a whole bunch of barrel bombs next to a sleeping monster and then running like hell. Jared says, it's an amp or a speaker, AOE. Yeah, I mean, I assume what it means is it's going to do... When you have wide range, which is an armor skill, and you play... and you use an item or play a melody on the hunting horn, your other teammates can enjoy the buff. So I'm guessing that's what this is. It creates like the affinity and health smokers. They have to just run into the area to absorb I guess, which would make it completely useless if wide range is still in there. I don't know. Who knows? Monster Hunter Rise. Well, it certainly does not have the fidelity or detail that World has, but it is still a large open world that you run in between areas with no loading. So, If you've played the demo, it's just a graphically worse version of Monster Hunter World. I mean, it looks good for a Switch game. Don't get me wrong. It's an absolutely lovely looking Switch game. But graphical fidelity wise, it's definitely a technological generation step back. Of course it is. It's on the Switch. It has to be because the Switch is a full generation behind the PS4. So, I mean, we'd expect that. Anyway, so it would be nice if just by reading the item descriptions in the game you knew what the hell things were. Or at least weren't confused about it. Alright, let's, where was I on the list here? Okay, one of my things was, I want to feel more like a monster hunter. Let me track footprints and stuff. Yes, actually, they added that to the game. Monsters leave tracks and snot and all kinds of stuff for you to pick up and put in your pocket. In Monster Hunter World, in order to, you don't paintball things anymore. You collect scratch mark. You know, when they scratch their butts against a tree, you know, you can find the scratch marks and footprints, and when they blow their nose against a wall or something, you pick up the snot. That gives you research points, and that helps you track the monster. So, not exactly what I was thinking. It's more like pick up enough crap off the ground and we'll just tell you where the monster is, rather than you are following a trail. But, you know, it fits the world. I thought it worked pretty well. Something more interesting to look at other than the loading screen during zone transitions. Now, keep in mind, I wrote this back before Monster Hunter 4 came out. And this was back when, like what Cafe and Matthew were talking about. In the earlier games, or before World at least, while the large maps that we hunt in are segmented into individual zones, zone 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through, like, 12 to 15. In the earlier games, if you transition from zone 1 to zone 2, you hit a loading screen. So sometimes what would happen is a monster would smack you and send you flying, and you'd hit a loading zone, and it'd be like, loading, 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 and then you'd fall into a different zone. And then you'd have to run back, loading, 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 to get into the zone. That did have its advantages sometimes. You would say, oh crap, I'm about to die, and you would run out of a zone to a different zone where the monster wasn't, so you could heal in peace. Sometimes they'd follow you into a zone. Sometimes the monsters would sit on those zone transitions, so you actually couldn't get at them, at least with a melee weapon. Because if you approached them, you'd zone out. It's like, that's not fair, you can't camp there. But Monster Hunter World Iceborne and Monster Hunter Rise do not have those loading transitions between zones. You just walk between. It's one completely interconnecting area. So, this was an issue I had with Monster Hunter 3 and Try and 3 Ultimate. Pulling items out of the supply chest takes too long. You know, I just wanted to thump, 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 thump. Good, let's go. It was like thump, thump, thump. It was every single item took a fraction of a second, but still just took. You couldn't just, okay, I want this, 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 and this. All right, let's go. You had to item. All right, item. That's not a problem in World or Iceborne. So cool. 150 hours in, and I still occasionally press the wrong button. Let us remap the buttons. Monster Hunter World and Iceborne allow a lot more. It doesn't allow, the PC version may, but the console version does not allow full button remapping, but it does give you a hell of a lot more options than the 3 and 3 Ultimate did. And Rise actually does allow you to at least swap the A and B buttons. If you come from PlayStation and you're used to the button on the bottom, the X button being confirm and the one on the right being back, it's opposite on the Nintendo controller. The one on the right is confirm and the one on the bottom is back. If that's bothering you, you can actually switch those two buttons. At least you could in the Rise demo. I would guess that there is. Well, PS4 has system level remapping, sure, but the game itself doesn't. Um, but they're getting closer to that because it is again, complicated game. The controls are somewhat unlike most games, so I'll admit I hit the wrong. I've put hundreds of hours into Monster Hunter. I still hit the wrong button occasionally. This one's more specific to 3 and 3 Ultimate. The vertical camera range needs to increase, and the sensitivity needs to decrease. In Monster Hunter 3 and 3 Ultimate, you had, I think, 3 or 5 different vertical levels you could set the camera at. You could look kind of straight forward, or kind of angled down, or angled up. What I If you barely bump the camera stick vertically, you could end up just looking at the ground, and that happened a lot while I was playing the game. I'd be spinning the camera to the side and end up looking at the dirt. So I thought that the sensitivity needed to be decreased, and it would have been nice if we could, have an analog look up and down. When monsters fly away. Oh, is he hovering or is he leaving the zone? Was not a problem in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, so I doubt that's going to be a problem in Rise. Matthew says the PC version of World had remapping, but that's a function of PC players would have chewed their heads off or write it if they didn't. Key remapping is an expectation on PC. Yeah, I would have absolutely expected rebinding keys being an option on the PC. And while it's annoying, it's not terribly surprising that it's something you rarely see on a console. Ah, where was I? Okay. Craft weapons and armor for your companion. Yep, that was. I don't know if that was. Now in Monster Hunter 3, Try and 3 Ultimate, you could craft new masks for Cha-Cha and Kayamba, your little minions that hunted with you if you were a single player. But you didn't craft new armor sets for them. But in World and Iceborne, you can craft full sets of armor and weapons for your Palico. And so it is with Rise. You can craft armor for your Palico and Palamutes. It's one weapon and 2 pieces of armor. Although they're doing it a little bit different in Rise, where the buddy armors are made from scraps. So when you make armor, it generates scrap, and you use that scrap to make the buddy armor. This is, from what I understand, was something that was in either 4 or Generations, so that's something that's coming back. So that's neat. Yep. Give me more to grind for. Hurt me. Where was I? I should really just highlight where the hell I am. Okay. Here's a good one. Pronunciation guide, please. Like, Lagiacris? Lagiacris? I don't know. Kurupeko? How the hell do you pronounce some of these names? Don't know. No pronunciation guide. Be a nice thing to have in the like the hunter notes, right? Little pronunciation guide. Now, there's still no pronunciation guide, and I don't know if there will be one in Rise. World and Iceborne is voiced, so many of the monster names are said out loud, which is how we know that apparently it is Alatreon and not Alatreon. So be careful what you wish for, I suppose. But there are still plenty of monsters in that game that are never named out loud, so still not entirely sure how a lot of the monster names are pronounced. Although sometimes you can get a fair idea of how they're pronounced by looking at what the Japanese name is, because Japanese is pretty phonetical, and if the English name is basically more of an Americanized version of the original, sometimes they're completely different, but uh, you know, like a good old basil goose. I looked up the Japanese name is like uh, Bazu Gusu or something like that. So I'd have to look it up again. But I'm like, oh, okay, it's basil goose. Yeah, it's like basil gears basil. I just always called him bagel juice, but you know, it would be nice to just how the another one that feels wrong is Tigrex. It's like no, surely that should be Tigrex. It's a cross between it's a tiger thing. Tigrex. With a bit of Tyrannosaurus Rex in there. Tigrex. And Capcom is no. See, it's a T-Rex mixed with a tiger. So T-Grex. T-Rex, tiger, T-Rex, T-Grex. T-Grex. I still disagree. It should be Tigrex. But whatever, that's Jared says the B-52. Cafe just called him Beetlejuice. Matthew's looking forward to Monster Hunter World 2 or whatever it will be called. So am I, but hey, in the meantime, I'll take Rise. Badozugusu, something like that. I'd have to see it, see the original name again. But anyway, pronunciation guide, please. All right, do something with the pig. Poogie. Poogie's cute, and I think Poogie was just supposed to be cute. I mean, you could pet the Poogie. You could dress it up in little costumes if you found some. But especially in Tri and 3 Ultimate, Poogie just kind of followed you around. You could pick it up and carry it. Maybe it had functionality I wasn't aware of. In World, at least, if you pet the Poogie enough that it likes you and you pick it up, it'll struggle if you happen to be standing somewhere where it knows there. You pick up Poogie, you wander around, and he'll go like, ooh, 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 and you set him down and he'll dig up an item for you. So that's what Poogie does. In World, at least. I don't know if that's functionality was in the earlier games, I just wasn't aware of it. But that's something at least. I mean, I don't mind adding stuff just because it's cute, but in Monster Hunter Tri anyway, I felt like I was missing something. I'm like, okay, he's adorable, but what am I supposed to do with him? Okay, I can pet him, but what does that do? Okay, I can pick him up, but why? I mean, is it just because it's cute? I mean, sure, that's enough, but I always felt like, it's like, am I supposed to do anything with Poogie? I don't know. Anyway. Matthew says, who knows, by the time Monster Hunter World 2 comes out, PS5, Xbox X will be available, is what you're saying. Yeah, I would not expect the World 2, or yes, whatever they end up calling it, the actual 6th generation game. I would not expect that until 2023. That seems like enough time. This year will be Rise. Next year we'll probably have an expansion. Monster Hunter. What would be the expansion? Who the hell knows? I could speculate, but anyway. So yeah, we'll definitely have a more, the actual true 6th generation Monster Hunter game. Probably not for another 2 years though. Or maybe Rise will flop and it'll get fast tracked and we'll see it in 2022. Who knows? But Rise seems like it's gonna do just fine. Um, Matthew says, "Oh, who am I kidding about? The current gen availability. Good luck, console players." Yeah, I've Newegg has been doing this thing. Because as you all are aware, it's impossible to get a graphics card for MSRP right now. Um, what did I? Why did I just do that? I had an itch on my finger and I used the bottom of my teeth to scratch it instead of my finger like a normal person. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Ah, my tonsils itch. Ah. Hell was I talking about? Uh, Jared says Rise is not made by the main team though. I would say Rise is not made by the same team. There are two teams at Capcom. One, the team that made Monster Hunter World is not the same team that made Monster Hunter Rise. There's two Monster Hunter teams. And that's why we get so many damn games, because they kind of stagger them. So, um, so yeah, the team that was working on World and Iceborne is now almost certainly working on the actual follow-up to World and Iceborne, whatever that may be. The so yeah, exactly, two different teams. Oh, GPUs and Newegg, right? So Newegg is doing a shuffle thing where basically they look at what graphics cards and other stuff they have that day, and they say, okay, if you want any of these, let us know, and then we will draw lots on who gets to buy them. Unfortunately, the stuff they're putting in the shuffle are graphics cards that I really don't need. They're all like these several $100 4K graphics cards. They're like way more than I want. But I mean, I'd rather pay $500 for an excellent graphics card that's worth $500 than 11 or $1,200 for a graphics card that you shouldn't pay more than $350 for. Nevertheless, I have not been chosen for any of the lots I've entered. So, oh well. Isn't the world team run by the Capcom CEO's son? I have no idea. Reverend says, did you already say what monsters you want to come to the game? I did not, and I wasn't, didn't have a list, but let's see, off the top of my head, um, keep in mind, I have only played 3 and 3 Ultimate and World and Iceborne. So any of the monsters that so that says Jared says a $500 graphics card should last you a little bit. Yeah, it's damn well better. It's the kind of thing. It's like if I get a $500 graphics card that's meant for 4K video output, I feel like I have to buy a new monitor because my monitor is only a 2K monitor. Um, but 4K monitors are a couple $100 too, and I only have so much dough. And in this area of financial uncertainty, I'm not really comfortable. I just bought a new car last summer. I bought a new computer. Granted, a good chunk of it was subsidized by you wonderful Patreon peoples, so that definitely helped. So I'm a little bit squeamish about spending even more money. But I mean, the fact that Kyle gifted me his graphics card, which is what I'm using now, allowed me to splurge on some other things like new speakers, which I really needed and would have had to get anyway because mine died. Especially my new integrated capture card. So now I can have a much easier and higher quality time streaming console games for the Sunday streams and for the Extra Life charity event. So, Jared says most games things can't go 4K. Yeah, so I mean, most of the stuff you see on YouTube is 1080p. Almost none of the games that I play support 4K. Hell, most of the 4K games that you see on like the PS5 and the Xbox aren't true 4K anyway. So yeah, not really interested. But I'm entering some of these to, if I get it and see if it's something I want. Yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get a graphics card probably until the fall at the earliest. But who knows? Matthew says 500 GPUs or more, 1440 anyway, which is higher than this monitor goes. So, even on PC, they aren't 4K. They are 4K using DLSS. I'm guessing DLSS is some type of upscaling solution. Yeah, most 4K is not true 4K at this point. Um, okay, so monsters. Generally speaking, I would imagine you mean, what monsters do you? I want new monsters. If you're asking what monsters do I want to see return, monsters from the games I haven't played, that you know I haven't played. You know, there's a uh like a Zam Trios or something, which the little ones are in Rise, so there's a good chance that it's the big inflatable shark monster. I've never played that one, so I'd love to see him in the game. There's a baby Tetsukabra. I've never fought Tetsukabra, so maybe Tetsukabra's in the game. That'd be cool. So yeah, I'm interested in any monster that I haven't fought before. Um, but if you're like, what are some of my favorite monsters that I just love to pound with a stick again? Um, I like Lagiacrus, the flagship of Tri. That's a cool monster. Granted, so far as we know anyway, there's no underwater combat, and that was kind of made for underwater combat. But it works just fine on land. I mean, the Ivory Lagiacrus is I think was always on the land, and it worked just fine. So that could work. Um, what's that? There's a snake monster that I don't know the name of. I probably know it if you wrote it in the chat. But that'd be cool. Like, the big snake monster. Um, there's that one that is a queen that has a. It's like an insect monster that has a like drone or soldier monster. Like you fight this Celtis. You fight the regular Celtis, and then you fight the Queen Celtis, and it comes at you with its baby Celtis or husbando Celtis or something like that. Jared says Dodogama. Oh, Dodogama's cute as a button. I would love to have. I had Poogie in the Dodogama costume most of the time in World because it's just so adorable. Um, DLSS is NVIDIA's upscale solution. Okay. And apparently the Switch Pro, if it's really a thing, will use that as well. All right. Narjala. Okay, and Celtis Queen. Okay, so I got Celtis right. Narjala is the snake one. There's one that kind of reminds me of Bishaten, because of the dexterous tail. Um, it's like sits up on its tail and like kicks with its feet. Great Macau or something like that. I always thought that one looked really neat. Um, but favorites of mine, I'd like to see Kurapeko come back. That one was always funny, and he always called in other monsters. That was a great mechanic. Um, I liked Nibblesnarf mainly just because of the name. but it's such a goofy looking monster. I love that. I love the goofy ones like Kuluyaku and Puke Puke. I love the adorably dorky ones. Those are some of my favorites. I'd love to see Brachydios back again. Brachydios and Uragon are pretty great. Agnactor I haven't seen in a while. I like that one. Um, let's see. Moi Nintendo, hello. Hi everyone. Andrew, it was the first Monster Hunter game I played. The first one I played was Try on the Wii. Um, Something about its advertising campaign, it just marketed the game really well. Or rather, it marketed the game in a manner that appealed to me. It just hit the right notes with me. I went, ooh, that looks really cool. And I was really excited for it and played it and loved it. And I've been a fan ever since. I did not play 4 or Generations because it was on the 3DS, and I tried the demo, but I just can't abide playing Monster Hunter on a handheld. I just can't do it. Now, Generations Ultimate, or is that what it's called? Yeah, Generations Ultimate was ported to Switch, but by then I was already playing Monster Hunter World, so, you know. I actually wrote IGN's guide for 3 Ultimate. That took me like 2 months. That was a bear. That took a lot of work. Um, the biggest guides I ever wrote for IGN was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, definitely, and I think a close second was a Hyrule Warriors. I think that one took me 7 weeks. That took a long damn time to do. Snarf snarf, says Chicago. Yep. Jared says, "Oh, the Great Jaggy, sure." That was the first monster in Try. Great Jaggy's he's essentially a big Velociraptor. Bit of a pushover. It's the first monster in the game, whatever. But I remember one time I had my gathering set on, and what I mean by that is for those of you who don't play Monster Hunter, the armor that you build in the game, they have different skills. Now, some of the skills are offensive, some of them are defensive, and some of them are not meant for hunting. There are skills that help you gather bugs and other resources out in the field, like give you a couple extra whacks at the mineral deposit to get some ore out. So a lot of players will build an armor set specifically for gathering. Uh, botanist, geologist, pro transporter, stuff like that. Um, So I had my gathering set on, which has no defense. You are not meant to fight in this. And this was really early game. So I was, out gathering honey. So I was out in the field. I had my gathering set on. Was not prepared to fight anything. I had no defense. I'm on my hands and knees, rummaging through a mushroom pile, looking for stuff. And suddenly, from across the map, a great Jaggy and his little Jaggies zones in. And, I mean, I'm on one side of the map, on my hands and knees, turn around, and a great Jaggy and its little minion zones in, on the full opposite side of the map, and we lock eyes. And this great Jaggy looks at me. And he looked at me in a way that clearly said, "There's that son of a bitch! Get him!" And they charged me. And I'm like, oh, shit! I'm like, Great Jaggy's going to kill me in this armor set. I have no defense. And I got my handful of mushrooms. I'm like, run away! Zone out, zone out. Oh, it was fun. There's some really great stories that hunters will have. Just weird stuff that happens spontaneously in these games. Now, granted, I'm reading a lot into the Jaggy's motivation here, but it's like he was on the other side of the map. He's like, "There's that son of a bitch!" It's like, leave me alone. That was the funniest thing. Um, I guess maybe he was a little sore that I'd killed all his relatives. Um, Reminds me of, last week I was playing Breath of the Wild. There's a Lionel. I was not planning on fighting a Lionel. I didn't want to fight a Lionel. So I throw on my Lionel mask. I'm like, nope, just a fellow Lionel on a horse. And this Lionel's just kind of watching me. And what I'm reading into this is that this Lionel's like, what the? This ain't even worth it, man. It's as you're obviously an asshole in a mask riding a horse. How stupid do you think I am? The only reason I'm not attacking you is because you're so pathetic. I'm seriously reconsidering. That's actually kind of mean. I'm mildly offended, sir. You uncouth bastard. You get off your horse and come on over here. Video games are fun. So another time I was, that may not sound like much because even naked, great jaggies are, the best they can do really is rough you up. They don't do a ton of damage, but I was wearing the same gathering set, and I was up in the raptor nest up in the mysterious island, the Moga Village Island, whatever it's called. I was up in the raptor nest. As I was over in the corner digging for digging in a bone pile, I think, and suddenly I hear whoosh, whoosh, and I freeze. I'm like, oh no. And I turn around and a Rathalos lands. And I'm like, I'm a rock. You don't see me. Just a rock. And this Rathalos, on the other hand, probably, at this point in the game, probably would have killed me whether I was wearing armor or not. But I was naked. I was wearing my gathering set. I'm like, this thing looks at me cross and I'm going to cart. Granted, I was on free exploration. It really didn't matter. But I'm crouched in the corner, not moving a muscle. And this Rathalos lands is like, looking around. There's a stranger here. I'm like, oh god, I'm just a rock. Please don't notice me. And eventually it flew away, and I exhale. I'm like, ooh. And that's why Monster Hunter's fun, because stuff like that. Let's see, what are we talking about in here? It's no accident that Monster Hunter blew up once it came to real platforms. Monster Hunter says sarcasm, or sorry, Matthew says sarcasm, but for real, it's good it got off the handheld. I agree. I know a lot of people, it's the portable aspect that, especially for Japanese players, that they just really love. But I honestly cannot stand. I've tried. I've tried. I tried the Generations demo, and I tried 4. I think 4 had a demo. Seems to me I've tried 2 different. I think I tried both 4 and Generations on the 3DS, and I just hated the experience. For example, Dragon Quest is my favorite RPG series. I played 9 on the DS. I never finished it because I really didn't like playing it on the DS, and I put about 30 hours in the game. I also didn't like the direction they went with 9, but I really did not like playing it on the DS. I was having fun with it for the most part, but the overriding thought in my brain as I'm playing it is like, man, this would be so much better if it was playing it on my TV. I just really don't like playing things on handheld. So yeah, I agree with Matthew. I think coming to consoles, real consoles, is one of the also world's just great game, and also did a lot to make itself more welcoming to new players. So a combination of all those things really helped in it being as big a seller as it was. Let's see. Moi says same. Started with Try on the Wii. Good old times. Yeah. Played it, of course, with the it wasn't called the Pro controller, was it? It was the actual. It looked. I have it in here, but I'm not going to dig it out. It's essentially one of these, but you plug the Wii remote into it. So instead of plugging a nunchuck into the bottom of the Wii remote, you plugged an actual controller in. So that, yeah, that's how I played. Did it come with the controller? Is that the class controller Classic Pro or Classic controller, something like that? Um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Know the event one, huge one. Writing a guide for Monster Hunter must surely be a pain inducing. I got paid for it, but yeah, that was a project. Yeah. Um, Chicago. Ooh, crap! Going to stealth. Oh man, there is a. It's really wonderful design of these monsters. They can be really scary, especially if they catch you off guard when you're not prepared for them, like you're wearing your fuzzy gathering breeches and provide no protection. It's like, oh no! And what's funny is like if Rathalos saw me over there and spat a fireball at me and carted me, it's not like I lost any of my items or anything. It's not even really much of an inconvenience. I was about done gathering in that area anyway, but it's there's really an element of role playing that goes into this. I think there really were no stakes, well done or otherwise. Uh, so it's kind of amazing that there was any tension. I think that all comes from the role play aspect. You're just into your character. That's how immersive the world can be. You are you prepared to go collect mushrooms, and you have your mushroom collecting pants on, and you go out there and huge fire breathing dragon's like, I am not prepared for this. So, it's a good game. Again, for those of you who have not played Monster Hunter, it is a really difficult game to get into. It is definitely not a game that you can just try out for 20, 30 minutes. It's an investment. It's something you have to set aside time for and want to learn and be very patient with. The game is asking a lot of you. So for new players, if you give it a go and it's not clicking, you're not doing anything wrong. And no one's going to blame you if you say, I really just don't want to spend 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever, getting to know the game. It's kind of like the whole, oh, well, coffee, it's an acquired taste. Why would I want to acquire a taste for something I don't have a taste for in the first place? I don't like it. I'm not going to keep drinking it until I like it. Totally get it. So, yeah, it can be a very difficult game to get into, but once it clicks hard. Um, Moaz says recently came across the Monster Hunter 3 spotted by a big monster sound, and oh gosh, was it frightening? Yeah. Chicago says I liked it on 3DS because I could play on the train on the way to and from work and during my lunch break. Absolutely. A lot of people are like who use or in the before times used public transportation. Um, Portable gaming is a godsend. I mean, if you are stuck on a train or a subway or something like that for an hour twice a day, like if you live like in Walnut Creek or something and you train into San Francisco, that's an hour. And then it's an hour home. Books, video games, absolute godsend. But for me in the before times, it's less than 15-minute drive to work. Also, I'm driving, so I can't play. I'm driving my own car, so I can't play video games while I drive. Um, but yeah, if I have my druthers, and I do, I have all the druthers. I want to play games sitting on my couch, playing them on my TV. I don't, I really, really don't like these small little buttons and controls and playing it on a small little screen with tinny sound. Yeah, I could use speakers. Or I could, play it on my nice 60 some inch, television. You know, of course, you can't drag a 60-inch television onto a train. So, Yeah, I certainly don't begrudge those who value portability. Not at all. I just really don't like personally, I just don't like the experience of playing on the small handhelds. And I don't have gigantic hands. I have slightly larger than average hands, I guess. But I mean, they're not humongous mitts or anything like that. But I'm just really not comfortable on handheld devices. Some games work out okay for me on handhelds, like P-Cross or Professor Layton or Phoenix Wright. Those games I'm fine playing on the handheld. I can play games on handhelds. I do. I just, generally speaking, spend the entire game wishing I wasn't playing it on the handheld. Wii Classic Controller. Okay. Oh, there was a Classic Controller Pro. There was. The Pro is the one I have. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The white one was the Classic Controller, right? Yeah. The silhouette on my wall, is that a monster? No, that's I've heard people let me get my view here. I've heard people say, this kind of looks like Mario, here's his nose, here's the brim of his hat. He's like holding something. I don't know. Here's his erection. I don't know, maybe foot, he's really short. But no, that shadow is my stuffed toys that I have on a pole. Uh, so it's just stuffed toys. It's all my stuffed toys because stuffed toys are cool. I haven't added any to that collection in years and years and years. But not gonna throw them away because they're mine. Um, Cafe says I was fighting Rathalos once, and he broke that wall with all the water behind it, right at the nest up in the ancient forest. Came rushing out, knocked us both off a cliff, killing him and leaving me in confused stupor at the base. If you don't know that's coming, yeah, I imagine so. Moa says I wanted to ask about that shadow for a while now. Yeah, it is a weird shadow. It definitely is. But yeah, that's just a pole of stuffed toys. It was an idea I had decades ago. I had that in my original bedroom when I lived in uh, uh, Glendale in Arizona, Phoenix area. It's just a way to, I mean, because if they're not displayed on that pole, you have like a big plastic bin that you stuff them all in, and that's no fun. So uh, it's essentially a 7 or 7 foot wooden dowel with a bunch of hooks screwed into it, and the toys hanging off of it. So I've heard people describe it as a stripper pole, and I wouldn't recommend it because all the hooks sticking out of it, that would hurt. Also, it's not anchored into the ceiling or the floor, so it would just fall over if you tried to lean or pull on it. uh, Mystery solved. Okay, so I'd still have some stuff. Do something with the pig. Oh, here's a fun one. Petting zoo or nature preserve. Pet and brush and give them names. Right? So if you capture monsters after the researchers are done with them. I hope they're not like vivisecting all the monsters that I'm capturing. They can go into an animal preserve with perhaps a petting zoo for the children. That's right, kids. Go in there and pet the Devil Joe. He's a friendly sort. Here's an apple. Go hold it up to him. Or what do they call it in Pokemon? Flash fruit or some dumb thing. Go, go, go! Throw the fiddlesticks at it. It's like that is an apple. Um, well, in you can capture small endemic life and keep it in your house, and you can pet it and feed it, and that's cool. But who doesn't want their own Dodogama? Let's see. Mounts. Well, in World, your Palico could mount monsters and ride them into battle, which is pretty cool. Happens fairly rarely, but it does happen. In Iceborne, you could actually ride some of the smaller monsters, but really only two wherever you're going. They were really taxis more than anything else. And you could actually ride some of the other monsters, like you could hop on a Kelby's back or a Aptonoth or a Popo, and they'll wander around a bit. Sometimes they'll lead you to an item. Um, but in Rise, of course, they have the Wyvern riding mechanic, which actually allows you to mount a monster and battle other monsters with it. So that is a lot closer to what I was originally envisioning. So that one actually eventually came true. So that's pretty cool. Um, okay, here's another one. Play as a monster against online hunters. So this hasn't come to pass so far as I know. I mean, you can do, like, I, I, I don't know if there's any friendly fire when you're wyvern riding in Rise. Like, if could you attack the other hunters in your group? I mean, you could do a thing where one person wyvern rides one monster and one hunter wyvern rides another, and then you can see who knocks out the monster first. So you can make up little games, but there's no PvP mode where hunters versus monsters kind of thing in there yet, where one person plays a Diablos charging after the rest of the hunters. Along those lines, arena fights, gambling. Now there are arenas, but you go in there and fight monsters. I'm thinking, no, 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 no. Put monsters in there and let them fight, and then gamble Zenny on it. Maybe that would be another way to get some rare items like plates and gems and stuff. If you win, it's like I've got money on the Great Jagras. It's like he's fighting a Devil Joe. Yeah, but if he wins, you better give me that Rathalos plate. No, that's not in there. Although Turf Wars were added, that was in World and Iceborne and also in Rise. So you do have monsters decking each other. So yeah, that's in the right direction. I was thinking more of the thing that I've seen in Dragon Quest since the early '90s, where they have the arenas where they just have different groups of monsters in there that fight each other, and you can gamble on the results. I love that stuff. But that has not been in Monster Hunter yet. Um, Here's a fun idea. Loot, or otherwise carve, your friends before the felines cart them back to camp. So if you're hunting with a party and someone faints, run over and carve them real quick before they get carted back to camp. I don't know what the hell you'd get off of them, but it'd be hilarious. Um, Have a petting zoo for babies that hatch from the eggs that you get from the gathering quest. Ooh, that's says Reverend Werewolf. That's not a bad idea. So there are quests in Monster Hunter where you have to run up to one of the wyvern nests, grab an egg, and awkwardly waddle back with it while monsters are chasing you down. Those are remarkably silly quests, and they can be really frustrating too. Because they'll do things like they'll put gigantic boulders in certain paths to make sure that you have to take the long way around to get back to camp. And eggs are very fragile, so if you get bumped by a monster or if you fall from too high, you'll break the egg. That's what the Pro Transporter skill is for. But yeah, it's an interesting, if you, that could be one way to facilitate a petting zoo-like mechanic is steal eggs and raise them and hatch them, and now you've got baby monsters. And we've seen the baby Tetsukabra in Rise, so maybe... let's see. Photography mode! Yeah, that was... that was added in Iceborne, and that's in Rise, and before that you could always use the system's screen capture ability, but yeah, that is actually a thing now. It's not something I use, but there are so many fun details in these games. That's one of the wonderful things about the Monster Hunter games is there are always a lot of really lovely background detail. Like if you take the time to wander around Astera or Celiana or any of the hometowns, just watch the cycling animations of the background characters. Um, in Celiana, the Iceborne level, there are characters, shoveling snow off the roof. If you go into the Graham, the cook, the Graham Meowster, or whatever her name is, you can see there's like this one cat that's sitting over on the side mixing herbs and stuff in a bowl, and he actually has a bunch of different animations where he just is putting a bunch of stuff in, is using like a pestle mortar and grinding it together and puts it in the sacks, and occasionally he'll like sneeze and blow it all over the place. So it's worth just picking characters and just watching their routines and seeing what they do. There's a lot of really charming details in the world of Monster Hunter that no one actually had to put in, but I'm glad they did. Let's see. Monsters that get scars and such as you do damage. Now they've always done the or at least as of try anyway, they've done the part break thing. But I was thinking more actual bruising and cuts and things. So they're starting to look real ratty. Um, in World and Iceborne, in World, if you beat up a part enough, it would look kind of scuffed. And then in Iceborne, when they had the tenderized mechanic, that scuff would be the indication that an area was tenderized. But not so much. Not exactly what I'm envisioning. Monsters that have unique colorings and patterns. I mean, they've always had subspecies and stuff, but I'm talking about just slight variations in the coloring and pattern. So it looks like they do have a size range. So some of the monsters will be slightly larger. Or, for example, if you go out and fight the Great Jagras, you might get they might be different sizes. Some might be fairly large. Some might be smaller than the others. But the character models are exactly the same. It'd be fun if the monsters had the ability to vary their appearance. Still a Great Jagras, but they have a couple different shades of yellow to work with, and some maybe have longer manes than the other. Just to make it feel like it's a different Great Jagras that you're fighting each time, rather than it's the same monster. Nothing that really affects gameplay or anything, just an aesthetic thing. One Nintendo, other hunters take very little damage when hit by some ally wyvern ride monster. Oh, they do? Okay. Cafe says, I like the palico that almost falls into the soup he's stirring. Oh, yeah, that's in the kitchen, too. There's the one that's stirring the big pot, and if you watch him long enough, he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Okay. there's some great stuff in there. Almost done here. This is actually the last one. Shouldn't have to craft separate gunner and blade master armor. That one came true. I'm not sure when they stopped doing that, but I'm glad they did. Back in Tryon 3 Ultimate, at least, gunners had different armors because ranged weapons would require, would make use of different skills than blade masters, right? Speed sharpening doesn't do a gunner any good because you don't sharpen your gun. You do sharpen your hammer, though. A blunt weapon. That makes no sense, but whatever. So their solution was to have separate armor sets for blade masters and gunners. The problem was, back then, there were only 3, ranged weapons. Pardon me. Actually, in the original try, it was light bowgun, heavy bowgun, and medium bowgun. I think they added bow in 3 Ultimate. The problem is you would get all these resources and you would make an armor, and you would have to decide: am I making the blade master armor or am I making the gunner armor? Might not have enough resources for both. Gotta pick one. And the problem with that is it really locks you into, or it tends rather to lock you into one weapon type. Because, I mean, these cost a lot of resources, so I'm going to have to go in and all in on one or the other. And since there's like, 8 or 9 different Blade Master weapons and only 3 Gunner weapons, and they're all pretty much the same, probably going to put my resources into Blade Master, because that gives me more options if I want to change up my weapon or my playstyle. But that's not the case in World and Iceborne, and it doesn't look like it's the case in Rise. There's in World and Iceborne they had an interesting thing where they did an alpha and a beta set. For each armor set would have an alpha version and a beta version, and the difference would be the alpha version would have more skills but less slots for your gems that would allow you to customize your armor sets with specific skills. And the beta set would have less skills but more slot spaces, so they were more highly customizable. Interesting balance. I'm not sure what they're doing with Rise. From what I've seen, it's just one armor set so far. That might just be the early sets. Who knows? But those were the ideas I had for Monster Hunter. And I wrote that list when I saw the very first trailer for Monster Hunter 4. So it's interesting to see that most of these have come to pass, at least in some form. Not always exactly as I envisioned it, but, in some way or another. Nevertheless, that's... hey, that managed to take us all the way to 8:30. All right. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Tomorrow we're doing a Sunday stream, noon Pacific Standard Time, and I will be playing Undertale, which I believe Brian bought me for Christmas. So I've never played Undertale, so I've long wanted to, because I hear it's good. So we will find out together tomorrow noon Pacific Standard Time on YouTube and Twitch, and should be streaming it to Facebook Live too, if that's your bag for some reason. But until then, I think I'm gonna eat dinner and probably play some more Xenoblade Chronicles, because I'm like 50 some hours into the game and just got to the snow area, because I'm really slow at this game because I insist on doing all the damn side quests, which I don't think the game really expects or even wants you to do, but it's a compulsion of mine. If there's a list of stuff to do, I am compelled to check everything off the list, whether I really want to or not. So, alright, that's it for me. I hope you all have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you tomorrow for a stream of Undertale. Not streaming the whole, unless it's a super short game. Only going to stream for a few hours or so, but we have fun, so I hope you'll join me. Alright, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.